Welcome, everyone. Welcome to LEVREMEMBERS. It's Tuesday. Hope you guys are having a decent day. I know it's hard to say. Me and Allison were just actually talking about. It's hard to say now. I mean, how are you doing? And it's hard to say I'm okay because in the thick of things, if you take a look at everything that's going around in the world, and especially things that we're talking about pertaining to Donald Trump and everything else, you would think you're in some kind of sci-fi movie, maybe, or some bad dream, or whatever, and you want to wake up, but it's reality, and that's one of the things that journalists, independent journalists like Allison and others are sounding the alarms. That's why, we're hitting there. We're screaming to make sure, keep your eye on the ball, watch what's happening, because there's, Donald Trump and his administration are up to no good, a lot of things. And some of them are worse than others. And, that's some of the things that we're going to talk about. First of all, just catch up on some of the breaking news that's been happening today before we jump into it, Allison. Today, James Comer came out, Congressman James Comer, for those of you that don't know, he's the head of the Oversight Committee. He is also Donald Trump's henchman. And how do I know? Because I've testified in front of James Comer in the same Oversight Committee. He's the man that has led that sham charade of a impeachment type of trial against ex-president Biden, and it obviously failed, but he wasted years, millions of dollars trying to chase some imaginary Burisma, or some imaginary connection between Ukraine and when the real crimes was right in front of his nose with Donald Trump and Kushner, and especially what's happening now. But so getting into it, he released a set of two different situations. One was he's put out a subpoena list that has to do with the hoax, as they call it, the Russiagate hoax. So let me just reframe. So what my sources are telling me and reporting, Allison, is that Comer and Trump had a long conversation a few days ago, and where basically the baton was passed now to the next stage, because they need to, have the base, because he's not only selling this whole rewriting of the Epstein files to the world, he needs to sell it to his base, the mega cult that's cracking. And the plan that was hatched, that was put together, that contribute to already what Blanche and others, are formulating, what Maxwell and the story she's going to paint, is that he was going to, do these sham investigations and call out, subpoena these names. Like, he got Secretary Hillary Clinton, he subpoenaed for October 9th. He got former President Bill Clinton for October 14th. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, October 2nd. Former FBI Director James Comey, October. I mean, and the list goes on. And this has to do strictly with the Russia hoax, the investigation that Pam Bondi now has put in front of the DOJ and the grand jury, and the proceedings that are going there. Simultaneously, though, what's even more crazier, because this is, a sham that they're trying to divert, but what they're really trying to do, and what you're dealing with, and that what I want to talk about today, is the scrubbing of the history when it comes to the Epstein files, the rewriting, the scrubbing of Donald Trump, the painting the story of others, slapping the victims and the survivors in the face by trying to really discard everything they're doing. And that's why here at Love Remembers, and I know you're doing it at Mueller Report and your other platforms, keeping the eye, the attention on all of this, because thank God that the media is also keeping the attention and not letting it go, because this is his kryptonite. And right before I hand it off to you, I just want to say he put out a subpoena today, and that's a schedule of subpoenas that he sent to Pam Bondi. And in that, also, Comer, part two of the plan, is now he's requesting documents. And the media today and the pundits were all over it, Allison. I was watching, saying, the GOP, Trump's GOP is going against him, James Comer. And I had to write a letter right away, says, stop, hold on, don't go there. No way. James Comer will never do anything that will hurt Donald Trump. He will never put anything out there. Instead, they're formulating the story with the help of Todd Blanche, because in the set of documents, he talks about asking for, Epstein and Maxwell. And interestingly enough, he puts in there, he asked that all documents and communications between executive office of the president, including the executive office of President Joseph Biden Jr., Department of Justice during the Biden. Nothing here in all of this asks about Trump's relationship, Bill Barr, the time that Bill Barr arrested actually Epstein and the DOJ under Donald Trump. None of that information. It's all about painting a narrative. And that's why I wrote in my letter today. And when you guys get a chance, make sure you read the Substack. It breaks it all down and tells it. But today, I know long overdue, the introduction. We have a very special guest here, Allison Gill. A lot of you might know her from Miller She Wrote and some of her major, incredible podcasts, Webby-winning podcasts, as I might say. Allison is a veteran. She's also a whistleblower, and I'm proud to say a fellow whistleblower. Allison, I don't know if you know, I actually just won the Whistleblower Pillar Award, the 13th annual. A few days ago, I was in D.C. I received so as another whistleblower, one to another. She's a PhD educated journalist. She's a comedian. She transferred from a federal government executive into a leading voice in progressive political media through her platform, Mueller, She Wrote, and her network, MSW Media. She breaks down complex legal politics news with wit, clarity, unwavering commitment to truth and accountability. And with that, I want to invite Allison Gill. Welcome, Allison. I know you have a lot going on. You have a lawsuit. I'm going to pass the baton to you now. From somebody that used to remember how we started. You used to look into me. You were like, I was the bad guy, and now to have you here, it's an honor, Allison.
You were out there doing that shadow diplomacy, right? And now there's a book. We called you a member of the Ukraine clown posse, I think was the phrase that we had coined. But I want to talk to you before we get into the Epstein lawsuit. You brought up Jamie Comer, good old Jim Comer. And I just want to kind of remind everybody, first of all, Durham, appointed by Barr, looked into all this and found nothing. They're going to find nothing again. But they're looking for stuff about Biden. It's interesting that they put that in there. But I just want to kind of be clear that every single piece of evidence that Republicans have had against the Bidens and the Clintons and Jim Comey and Brennan and all of these folks that they want to go after, every single piece of evidence they've had was manufactured by Russians. And you know this because we had the Rudy Shokin files. We had the Nunes Derkach files. We had Jim Comer and his star witness, Alexander Smirnov, who was pled guilty and is in prison for fabricating a Burisma bribe to the Bidens. I mean, the list goes on. And now we've got this new Durham Annex that wasn't published back in the day, that even Ratcliffe, who released this, said himself about in 2020 that it was probably manufactured by Russians. And again, this email, it's got like Russian phrases in it, like putting oil in a fire instead of throwing gas on a fire. And it's, manufactured. Even Durham concluded. Durham, who was doing his best to find crimes, and found only a slight handful and got 2 acquittals against him on the 3 cases that he brought. Even he concluded, and the reason it wasn't published back then, that this evidence was manufactured by the Russians. So they just don't have any evidence that they can ever present that doesn't come from Russia. And so when Comer, first of all, told to pivot over to Epstein, first told Ghislaine Maxwell, when Ghislaine Maxwell demanded that she be given total immunity for her in exchange for her testimony to Congress, Comer said no. And then when he issued the subpoena, I was surprised at first, but then I realized he has to because the committee voted for it, and that's all Democrats and I think 2 or 3 Republicans that aren't Comer. And so he issued these subpoenas, and I'm sure there'll be motions to quash on both the Russia and the Epstein stuff, which are pretty much tied together if you really want to get into it and think about all of the investigations into the money that Senator Wyden has done. with regard to Deutsche Bank transactions in Epstein's name and files being sent to Russia and things like that from Epstein. But regardless of all that, I had done some reporting, I think on July 20th and a follow-up on July 22nd, that FBI analysts at the Information Management Division had been told and instructed to find and flag mentions of Donald Trump in the Epstein files. And there was a master spreadsheet of all of the mentions of Donald Trump, which I did not ask. I didn't FOIA that because they would be redacted under normal FOIA rules because Trump was not charged. And then training videos, instructing.
That's what I can't wait to hear, because when I saw the actual
Hmm.
training videos, Allison, good.
Yeah, and these are videos instructing the people in the Information Management Division at the FBI on how to flag Donald Trump in these files. And so I have, well, back then when I first, before I put that report out, I initiated a FOIA request to get those training videos. And after you give a requisite 10-day period for expedited discovery, or not discovery, but expedited FOIA request, you can sue. So I sued on Saturday after I waited the requisite amount of time to get those videos. And as I told Katie Fang on her show yesterday, it's not necessarily about getting justice or getting the videos themselves. It's about how this administration responds to it. Are they going to say they don't exist? Because I have, I can get affidavits that they do from people who have seen them. Or are they going to say they do exist, but they're covered by privilege, deliberative process privilege, or work product privilege, or something to that effect, which would force them to admit that there are videos that exist that instruct FBI personnel how to flag Trump's name in the Epstein files. Now, we already know through sourced reporting, that Pam Bondi told Donald Trump back in May that he appears in the Epstein files, and we all know that. But it would be nice for to force the government to have to admit that, and so that's what the point of this lawsuit is.
Not only that, Allison, but I think a huge part we could find out with the lawsuit is who implemented that procedure and why and when was that procedure implemented. So for somebody in the FBI to set up a whole training video to flag Donald Trump, that means that Kash Patel and the hierarchy had to have known that Donald Trump was all over the Epstein list, and now they needed to scrub it, and that's what I'm calling it. So somebody had to. So how early did they know? So how long was this cover up going out? Well, this is, I guess, we'll find out if with your lawsuit, because they'll show us, the videos will show us when were they made, by who they were made, who authorized them, and why. Well, because I think that's the real reason. Not that listen, we all understand that there's a scrubbing going on. I mean, I've been reporting on it. You've been reporting on it. There's others. We have sources. Our sources are, might be the same, might be separate. I have no idea, because we're all reporting on some of the same similar stuff, that Donald Trump is rewriting the Epstein history, that Todd Blanche is in there, making up this whole idea of who Maxwell is going to come out and talk about, and putting this whole theory together. And now you have, it's like stage act 3, act 4. Now you have Jamie Comer come into X. It's like Paul Jamie, and he was just waiting for his time to come in and jump into this mix of things and try and mess things up, and because he is going to now lead the news cycle, because this is what this is all about, is having these hearings on Fox and all these, have the media start having the big names coming up there, because now you're either going to have more conspiracy theories, because, like, for instance, you're either going to have like a Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton not show up, right? Where they're gonna start then chanting "lock her up" and "lock him up" because of Bannon and all of that, or they're gonna show up and take the fifth. I mean, it's one or the other. And if they do that, then it's also there as a conspiracy, they're taking a fifth. So it's like a catch-22, no matter how you look at it. And that's why that's part of the plan and what they're doing, and that's sick to watch how they're playing it out in front of the whole world to watch.
Yeah, well, and then, I mean, that's their goal, right, is to take the heat off of Donald Trump. Um, and they fumbled around with that for a while, for a couple months. unable to get it together on how to react. I know I've talked a lot with on here on Substack Live with Wajahat Ali, and we've talked about, man, if I were a supervillain, there's way better ways to cover this up. They're just doing a really terrible job at it. But I think they're finally getting their ish together, and they're saying, okay, well, we got to drag the Democrats who might appear in the files in front of Congress, and then if they don't, we can use that to say it's all them, and if they do and they take the fifth, then we could say they're clearly guilty, as if anybody on the left cares who it is that's named in the Epstein files. We just want to know. And so that's kind of, I think, their new plan is to divert our attention away from the fact that Donald Trump's not going to testify. We're not going to get a complete accounting from this Department of Justice on the Epstein files. That's why I'm so interested in Ro Khanna, for example, asking for that birthday book. And now the New York Times is reporting today there's another birthday book from his 63rd birthday that has photos of the mansion. You'll have to excuse me. I have a frog in my throat from screaming this weekend. And so, that I think is where the source material that could do the most damage is. And then they also have to contend with Rupert Murdoch and what the Wall Street Journal has. And that's kind of, I think, probably one of the number one sort of unknown variables that they can't control, that they're trying to control. And, we saw today that in the Trump's lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch and Dow Jones, who owns the Wall Street Journal, that at first Donald Trump was demanding that they get Rupert Murdoch's deposition now within 15 days because he's old and in ill health. And now they've come to an agreement that they won't do any of that until the judge rules on the initial Wall Street Journal motion to dismiss the case. And if the Wall Street Journal wins that, then, I guess we can all say their reporting is accurate, but then it kind of goes away, right?
Right.
So who knows what sort of deal they're making? Who knows what J.D. Vance flew out there to talk to them about 2 days before Wall Street Journal dropped their first story. But,
I think it's from what I'm hearing from my sources, Allison, great reporting what you're talking about. I was actually, I was going to talk about a little bit later, but this is all, part of. So what I understand, what I'm hearing, it's not 100% confirmed, but a pretty good source that the Wall Street Journal leaker was originally Maxwell and her family. And these were the signs that were being sent to Trump. And that the Wall Street Journal doesn't have a lot. They have a little bit, they have enough, and that's why right now what you're seeing play out is like you said, 100% for it to get buried. If it gets dismissed, like you said, it goes away. It's true, but there's so much, in the media, and the story moves on. Nobody's ever going to remember or care about a postcard or but the message was done. The message was sent because what it did is right away it had, he sent, what's his name? His
Todd Blanche.
Todd Blanche, excuse me, I can't forget. Todd Blanche to do the dirty work and start the procedures. They already shifted her right over to a different facility. I mean, 1, 2, 3, it happened really quickly, literally within a week. All of that happened. If you take a look at how that all played out, and now you're seeing the remnants exactly of now it being shut down from it worked. He came out because as far as the mega base, as far as majority of the people, they only care or remember that the case got shut down. All they can't remember is that Trump went after Rupert Murdoch. He sued him for $10 billion. And, he in their mind, it's like 1 + 1 does not equal 3. Like, what I'm saying to you? Like, it's all over the place. But it's all being set up. And, for some of my subscribers that have been following me, that's some of the things that I've been reporting on, I've been talking about. And my sources have been telling me that this is all theatrics, like literally, especially when it comes to Rupert Murdoch. You have to remember, Allison, you did a lot of reporting on my case. If you remember that when I got arrested, it was the same cast of characters. Well, back then it played out, except for you had Bill Barr in the mix instead of Pam Bondi. And when I got arrested, Bill Barr But I was on my way to Vienna to be able to meet with Hunter Biden, the CEO of Burisma, get the laptop. And remember, Sean Hannity and Fox were supposed to do an interview. I met in Fox Studios the night before. We had that whole meeting, and
Mm,
Rudy was supposed to be on the plane with me. And what happened? The day of my arrest, who flies in to Southern District of New York but Bill Barr himself to oversee the arrest, which never happened, unusually. And after that, who does he go have dinner with that night? Rupert
mm,
Murdoch. Yes,
mhm,
there with Rupert Murdoch. Why? And because Fox never covered my arrest. Fox never discussed it. What happened, because they were part. It was part of the cover up. Back then, same players playing out right now. It's all in these cover ups. It's all about to hide the truth. None of these investigations, none of this that has to do with Trump is ever to get to the bottom of the truth, to get to the reality. It's all in the opposite. It's all to bury the truth. It's all about to cover up the truth and what's going on. That's why the work, and I want to just take a second because we have a little over 1,000 viewers right now. I want to take a second and say to everybody that's why right now, more than ever, it's important for everybody to go out there and subscribe to Allison, to subscribe to people, independent journalists out there like that are fighting, that are risking it. I mean, she's out there suing the DOJ, risking it. People in Trump's DOJ know who Allison is. I mean, she used to be a veteran. She used to work for the department. She knows, she's a whistleblower. She's out there, even recently. I mean, when you got other journalists out there with like MSNBC and others that are taking our stories that following, and people like Allison here breaking her stories and then trying to take credit for it. We
mm.
saw that, and that's why it sucks. That's why it's so important that our family here on Substack, which is our platform right now, is the only one that's left to be able to grow to such a point, to be able to be strong enough and make our voices loud enough to be able to speak truth to power, to get this information out, to be able to save our democracy, because otherwise we're not going to do it. So, guys, each and every one of you, you know what the objective is: not only to subscribe to each and every one of us, but to go out there and bring 3, 4 more people to this platform, and make sure that you become our megaphones and be an extension of our voices. This will be taped. We will put it out there. Allison will put it out. I will put it out afterwards. Make sure you go spread it wide, far, to everybody you know, to your friends, to your colleagues, to people that need to hear the truth. Because the things that we're telling you, the inside information, the sources, because it's real. This is not a reality show. These are people that are really, I'm under DOJ. I'm still on supervised release. I mean, Donald Trump tries to put me away and lock me up every time he gets a chance. Every time I try to talk over here, he tries to go after my son Aaron. You guys see it, it, because he's out there and he's loud and giving the information. Because so he's trying to shut down. He's already shutting down major media. He's gonna go after independent journalism very soon. He's gonna come. We're gonna come to a time, and the only way we're gonna win is if we're big enough, strong enough, and loud enough to be able to fight this information. So that's why it's extremely important for each and every one of you to do your job, because we're doing ours. So go ahead, Alison. I just need to give that quick insight for everybody.
Thanks. Yeah, Aaron's doing great work. Aaron Parnas, by the way. If you aren't following him, especially over on TikTok and here on Substack, my Substack's called The Breakdown. It's at MullerSheWrote.com. It's free. All my content is free, and I've got like endless sources in the federal government that who need a voice and reach out to me on a regular basis. So you can have all those alerts. By subscribing for free to my Substack. If you can swing a paid subscription, that's cool. That helps support the work that we do. But
Absolutely. No,
other than that,
and
it's
Allison, I tell everybody, we shouldn't, that's extremely important, because the reason why the right has such power is because they support, and they support financially and everything. And I talk truth. We're not here sugarcoating. Not everybody could become paid subscriber, but those
right.
that can need to. Each and everybody need to do your job. Somebody could be a paid subscriber. Somebody could be a regular. We don't have, just like Allison said, we don't have no paywalls. Our objective here is to get you the truth, to spread the truth far and wide, to get the message out. But it also
I
doesn't come
want
free.
to I want to
Yeah,
touch on something that you said,
yeah,
Lev,
yeah, yeah.
about Ghislaine Maxwell and the possibility, your sources, that she was leaking the birthday book to the Wall Street Journal. I think that that's a pretty interesting theory, because I could see a scenario where she starts dripping this stuff out and then says, I'll stop if you give me a pardon. And they say, we can't pardon you. And then she says, well, then put me in Club Fed in Texas, or something to that name,
It goes
something of that nature.
yeah.
But I was the one who broke the story that she was ineligible to be transferred to that minimum security prison. She was ineligible, and somebody actually had to go in and give her a waiver and downgrade her sex offender status to what's called a 308. Lesser offender, and that's usually reserved for people who have served. It's never reserved for sex offenders, but it's usually reserved for people who maybe like the Theranos lady who maybe she's served 90% of her sentence and she's been on great behavior. Then maybe, and there's spots are very limited, and the spots are very limited in those facilities. And so to jump the line like that, everybody I spoke to at Bureau of Prisons was shocked and dismayed and really, really angry. It's very, very out of the ordinary. In fact, it's never happened before. But here she gets this, cushy deal. And is it a prelude to a pardon, or is it the payment for keeping quiet? I mean, I doubt we'll ever know, but we did also learn today that the Department of Justice does have the audio of the interview, the 2-day interview between her and Todd Blanche. But I honestly wouldn't trust anything that this Department of Justice puts out. Their words, where's Comer's subpoena for Jeff Berman? Where's who was the U.S. attorney during the Epstein investigation? Where's the subpoena to get testimony from Maureen Comey, the actual line prosecutor who worked on the case? She's been actually fired. Maybe that was part of the deal between Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell, who, by the way, isn't just a co-conspirator in the sense that she helped traffic these girls. She was there raping them alongside these other prominent people, including Jeffrey Epstein. She's a known liar. She perjured herself multiple times. So, to give her cover and reward instead of listening to the survivors should be clue number one. But I don't pretend that this administration nor the MAGA people who fuel these conspiracy theories care about the actual survivors. They just want to get a big Democratic name from the Epstein files, as if anybody on the left is going to be sad that we have to, not vote for Bill Clinton again. It's very confusing to me. But it's about the propaganda. It's about the cover up, and there is a great deal of cover up going on at the FBI. In my reporting, we know that there was at least 1,000 people across at least 2 agencies at multiple locations who had to go through these files and look for Trump's name. And at first they objected because they were like, why aren't we redacting the survivors' names and their personally identifiable information? And so everything changed on a daily basis. They rarely got much done because they were waiting for new instructions, because once the new instructions came down, they had to start all over again. And they had 100,000 documents, almost 300,000 pages to go through. So we're going to keep an eye on this. I'm like you said, Lev, I'm interested to see what happens with my lawsuit regarding the training videos, because as you pointed out, that acknowledgement would open up a ton of additional questions and investigations. Who ordered it? When did they order it? What other names? Right. What other videos are there? What other training videos are there? There were several that were stored on a SharePoint drive embedded in PowerPoint presentations, according to my sources. So here we are. And I just want to also, if anybody is interested in, my lawyer is Kel McClanahan at National Security Counselors, and he is making all these filings and doing all this work and writing all these briefings for me pro bono. And if you want to support his work, you can directly donate to National Security Counselors at nationalsecuritylaw.org/donate. Even a buck or two helps. And because of amazing donors and supporters, we were able to raise enough money to cover the cost of the first filing. There's going to be more. So if you're able to, and you can swing it, that's really cool. If not, you can always, like I said, subscribe to my Substack for free, and you will get every single update on the lawsuit. I don't paywall anything. So we're going to go forward with this. I've also filed motions to intervene on behalf of the Trump administration in his quest to unseal grand jury transcripts from the court. And the judges said that they would take our suggestions under advisement. Our suggestions were only redact the survivors' names and personally identifiable information, not what Donald Trump deems pertinent. Don't let him get away with that. And both judges in the Maxwell and Epstein cases have said that they would take that under advisement, although they wouldn't allow me to become a party to the lawsuit, which is fine. I don't feel good about fighting alongside the Trump administration, but if we can, wrest some of these files away from them, that's good. I've also, a couple months ago, filed a FOIA and a lawsuit against DOJ for emails about their decimating the federal workforce, and I hope to, in that suit, it's not necessarily again about getting the documents. It's more about getting them to admit that they aren't, or to get a judge to rule that they aren't that the USDS is not part of the executive office of the president and therefore is not subject to FOIA, which would open the floodgates to anyone's FOIA request for DOJ materials. That's the point there. So a lot of what I'm doing legally here with my network, my podcast network, and the Daily Beans and MSW Media and national security counselors isn't necessarily about getting the actual documents. It's about getting the government to say what they have and what they won't release so that others, including myself or even you or anybody listening, can file additional FOIA requests for what they admit exists.
And that's so important. And I just want to say, Allison, from one whistleblower to another, God bless you. Thank you for all the work you do. Thank you for risking it, putting it all out there. I mean, everybody out there, I know your time is limited. You got a full day ahead of you. I appreciate you coming on. Love Remembers. We got to do this more often because I think and that's one of the things also out there, people need to really understand that someone like when Allison goes out there as her sources, or I go there's people out there that are really risking a lot more to get us this information, to be able to pass it on, because for whatever reason they're in the position they are, but for some other reasons they want to get this information out. That's why we need each and every one of you to be our extension of our voices. So make sure to go subscribe to Allison. It's for free. You get great content information, and like I say, those of you that can, go the extra mile. Make sure you contribute and make sure you support a lot of different avenues out there. So make sure you do it. Allison, thank you for all the work you do. And let's stay in touch, and I'll give you a call. And if there's some breaking news, we got to do this again.
You need to text more instead of call. I'm Gen X, Lev.
I know. I'm getting there. My son's teaching me. I'm getting there. Listen, I'm an old
I do
dog
want to
learning.
say, I do want to say also, if you want to read my lawsuit, it's just 8 pages. I'm pretty proud of it. You can get it for free. It's in my latest post on Substack at MullerSheWrote.com. It's right there. You can read it. And I don't know. I'm just kind of, it's interesting. I started in 2017. I got a couple microphones, sat down at my kitchen table and started a podcast about the Mueller investigation. And at the chief judge at the time over the grand jury proceedings for the Mueller investigation was Judge Beryl Howell. And we were constantly covering everything that she was doing. And eventually that very first podcast led to a podcast network called MSW Media, Mueller, She Wrote Media. And for MSW Media versus the Department of Justice, we just found out yesterday that my case in the Epstein videos files situation has been assigned to Judge Beryl Howell. So it's kind of this little circle is now complete. Like, you complete me. And I just thought that was an interesting turn of events, and we'll see how it goes. I might get dismissed out of the water. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I had to roll the dice to take a chance, and it's because of supporters and listeners that I'm able to do that. So thank you so much, and Lev, thank you. And everybody, if you haven't read Shadow Diplomacy, if you haven't seen the documentary about Lev, From Russia with Lev, you gotta watch it, especially now that all this Russia stuff is bubbling to the surface.
Thank you
again. So thanks, Lev, for having me.
Thank you, and God bless you. Have a great day, Allison. Stay safe, and I'll text more often. We'll do this again. Take care.
All right. Well, you can call. It's fine. I just. Bye, everybody.
No, I will. Hey everyone. Allison, she's incredible. She's great. Great work, does it. I just want to let you know, quick little update on things that are going on today. At 7 o'clock today, I'm going to be going live with Joe Walsh at 7 p.m. Eastern. It'll be our first time me and Joe are going on. It's going to be, we're going to go over some of the interesting stuff that are happening and break it all down. Some of the things that also that we didn't get a chance to go into with Allison that I quickly want to just go into right now is I think Michael is up here. Try to see. My phone is acting up. I'll try. Let me try send it again. In the meantime, I want to tell you guys, first of all, again, yeah, 7 o'clock, we're doing Joe Walsh. Also, very important, I want you to go out there. If you didn't read my letter that I put out today, Trump deploys James Comer. Very important. Go watch it. In the letter, also, there's a part of my testimony in front of Congress where I testify in front of James Comer. Definitely want you to go see it. I definitely want you to understand how this sham is happening. Basically, I feel lately it's so crazy. I feel like a producer or a director in a show. Like we're scripting a show. Like I'm writing you these letters and it's playing out. It's fun. It's so sad and funny at the same time because my sister calls me up after reading my letter. She goes, "I can't believe I read it. So scary." But then at the same time, I can't believe it's true. And then when it plays out and it happens, she goes, "I can't." And it's just really, really, really important right now for you guys to be the megaphone, the extension of our voices, to be able to go out there and spread the message far, far, far and wide. And the thing I want to leave you off in, because I have to go and then I'll be back later, but that we're going to talk about that the next thing is very important. The Democrat leadership, like Governor Newsom, governors from Chicago, Governor Holcomb from New York, they need to stop waiting to see what the Republicans do, and they need to go start gerrymandering, do whatever it takes, and fight fire with fire, and go get as many congressional seats, and not worry about what anybody thinks about or looks about, because it's time to get our democracy back. It's time to stop playing this bullshit games, and it's time to stop waiting and be reactionary. We need to be move forward. We need to be aggressive and not wait for them to do something and then say, because now what I'm hearing in some of the circles is that the Democrats lock themselves in some hole where they might not even be able to gerrymander and get these redistricting in time for the 2026 elections, just like the Republicans are going to. Because I'm telling you, what the Democrats are doing right now is, God bless them for these Democrats that are right now in Chicago and are risking arrest and are stopping this thing. But eventually, they're going to push this through in Texas. They're going to only last as long as they can. Eventually, they're going to get through, and that's why we don't need to wait for that. That's why we need California. We need states like New York, Chicago. Go do your thing. Start the process. Get the seats. We need to save our democracy and stop playing games and stop waiting and reacting to what they're going to do next. Stop thinking ahead. I have some ideas that I'm going to share with you later on. There's some things I'm going to be breaking that I'm working on. Also, Michael, I try and bring you on. I sent you the request. It's not going through, but I have to go anyway right now. So anyway, I will see you guys later. Let me try again, Michael, one more second because. Oh, that's good. Let's give it one more try. There you go. All right, here we go. We got you.
Hey, Lev.
There you go.
Well, yeah, welcome to everybody. Hey, just to give you a quick update here. First and foremost, all the nonsense that you're hearing coming out of the GOP, whether it's Governor Abbott, whether it's any of these members that are obviously playing to a party of one, they cannot arrest these lawmakers. This is nonsensical. There is no crime that they have committed. I like now that they're threatening J.B. Pritzker because he's housing many of them in Chicago at one of his various hotels. It's absolute nonsense. I will turn around and say, you're 100% correct that they are very brave, these Texas legislators, because they're going to then be away from their family for an indefinite period of time. They're out of their state, which they must be. Just so people understand the reason why, there is a rule that you cannot put a motion on the floor unless you have a quorum. And minus 51 Democrats who have all said adios, there is no quorum. So the notion that Abbott's going to be able to turn around and fill those seats, that's not his prerogative. Now they're saying that they're going to bring the FBI in, Kash Patel, who's going to have them arrested by a posse. Why is the Federal Bureau of Investigations involved in a state matter? It's not a federal issue. All right. So it's not a federal issue. It's a state issue. So that also doesn't. Then they claim that they're going to turn them over to Tom Homan from the Department of Homeland Security for shipping them to El Salvador, meaning they're trying to scare them. Can I tell you, you know what they're talking about now? Not returning back to Texas until December, till December 3rd, after, right, after, the midterm elections and so on, meaning that they can actually operate remotely, the same way that many people did during COVID, that they will now operate as legislators remotely, that they will not come in that way, that there can be no motion on the floor. It's very bad for Texas. By the way, this act is very bad for this country. And Lev, I wish more people would listen to what you're saying. I myself have been screaming this since it first came out, to the point my throat hurts from it. What the hell are we waiting for? Serious. If you and I were running the DNC, I would already have met with folks like Newsom and J.B. Pritzker and Hochul and every governor of every state that is blue. And then I would meet with some as well who are Republican and say, this is just bullshit. You are marginalizing communities by taking away the power of their vote. And it's simpler today to do this. Everyone's saying, well, if this is so easy to do, why didn't they do this in the past? Why only now? And you know the reason why now? Because of AI. Because AI has been able to take the entire state, map it out. This is like watching Iron Man with Tony Stark moving shit around on a screen that's in the air, mapping it out, drawing every single street by district in order to do what? Well, if I take this group of people, which are heavily Democrat, because we know how they vote, we know who these people are, and I would say to an 80% degree of certainty, and move them over here, well, cut it off over here, we now have this larger swath where they're not talking about eliminating all Democrats from a district. They're just playing with the number so that the number of votes in that district are something like 55% Republican over Democrat. And that's how they intend to win. And you know what? Is it cheating? Sure, it's cheating. Should we be doing the same thing right now? Abso-fucking-lutely.
That's why I'm saying, Michael, and I thank you for coming up and joining me, my brother. I was going to actually call you, see if you wanted to do something later on, because I'm actually working on something that I might be breaking very soon, having to do with something to do with Comer and Epstein and all of this stuff happening right now. Actually, it's crazy to see how coordinated it is and how they're playing it out in open sight and just trying to manipulate and scrub it and push it through and just feed it to us.
Yeah, they don't hide. Lev, we hide. As Democrats, we're like, oh, well, we have to play fair. We need to play. We are the party of politeness. We are the party of peace and love. And I turn around and I say, I'm all for politeness. I'm all for peace. I'm all for love when the time calls for it.
Yeah,
Right now, it's not.
get our democracy back, get our freedom back, and then we could get back to doing everything. But right now, we need to do whatever we could possibly can to get our democracy back. We
Hey,
have to
you know,
stop
I
with
wanted
this.
to, what I really wanted to talk to you, because there's no two people on this planet. And I could see people finally understanding that. We have about 1,800 people or so, with us. Please do me a favor, keep smashing those hearts, hit that box and share it, because this part of my few seconds left with Lev, and I'm sorry to jump in on you like this,
No, you're
but
always family. You're always welcome.
there are
Brother. Always
no,
welcome.
thank you, my brother. There are no two people outside of Donald Trump, other than Lev and I, that understand what this is about. And I'm talking about Pam Bondi's most recent investigation, opening an investigation
Thanks.
into the Russia hoax. All right. There are no two people who understand it more. I am, for example, named in that Steele dossier, which was the impetus for the entire Russia hoax, 11 times, more than anybody in the entire Steele dossier. 11 allegations raised against me, all of which are false. Now, do I think that he has an action, or Pam Bondi has an action against President Obama? Even if Obama, which I don't think there is, but even if he has emails and written letters in his own handwriting saying that he's going to interfere, that he's going to do this, that, and the other thing, you can't charge him, thanks to Trump and the Supreme Court, under the presidential immunity clause. So let's just stop with the bullshit. All right. However, there are many others that Donald Trump believes, and to be honest with you, I think he's right, that interfered with his campaign because they didn't want him. They didn't like him. They didn't trust him. They didn't want him running. They certainly didn't want him as president. And those people, like James Comey, I think are going to find themselves in deep shit. I really do.
I agree with you 100%, and that's one of the things people used to tell me. Trump, and me and you used to see the same thing. Trump is not colluding with Russia. Yes, Russia is interfering in that election, but Trump is not calling Putin and saying, "Hey, this is how we're going to do it." Yes, are there people like Manafort in his administration that are working with the Russians? Yes, but again, Trump is not calling Putin in 2015 and 16 and saying, "Hey, Vlad, let's get this thing going." And that's where the Democrats are trying to push. That's where a lot of the Comey stuff, and I agree with you. And I think that and I even wrote in my Substack letter that the arrests are coming. My sources are telling me that Comey, Brennan, Clapper, and there's some other names are on the list of indictments that are going to come out.
I think Bill Barr too.
Bill Barr also. Well, Bill Barr is a tricky one. They're scared with Bill Barr because Bill Barr still has all this Epstein stuff. Don't forget. That's why you don't hear Bill Barr right now, because remember, Bill Barr is very well in tune with all the Epstein stuff because he was involved with the arrest, with the prosecution, and Epstein died on Bill Barr's watch. Also,
Lev, one of the things that I write about in my book, Revenge, I sort of lay out, and we got a lot of this information. Brian Karam helped me. He's the journalist, because nobody wanted to talk to me. Nobody would. One of the crazy things is Christopher Steele writes this horse shit dossier for Hillary Clinton, which was supposed to be used as opposition research. And that's absolutely legal. It's done in every single campaign, from city council campaigns to the presidential campaign. It's done everywhere. Nothing illegal about it. She took one look at that garbage document by that fucknut Christopher Steele, that MI5 asshole, and she goes, "This is garbage. This is the biggest bunch of stupidity I've ever seen." Took it, threw it, and walked away. He was like, "But I want to get paid." They didn't pay him. So he was looking for a payday off of this fiction that he decided to write. You know who he found? He found John McCain. And somehow or another, McCain had a group of people, or whether it was done through one of his PACs or organizations, they paid Christopher Steele for the document. He then, of course, showed it and brought it to Comey. Comey then decided to make an issue out of it, and they started running a whole bunch of investigations on various different people, myself included. They started running around saying, well, Cohen was in Prague with $10 million in cash to meet with Russian compromise to pay them off for the benefit of Paul Manafort. Now, you know my relationship with Paul Manafort. If I had to pay a nickel, and I found the nickel on the street, I still wouldn't pay for Paul Manafort. Okay? Let me be very clear about that. Nevertheless, Comey went ahead. Do you remember I told you the story? My son was trying out to play for the USC baseball team.
Yeah.
We were there in LA, me, my wife, my son. The FBI went and met with the coach and the entire coaching staff and said, yeah, that was him. That's the young man that was here pitching for us. Can you prove it? Yeah, here. There's a picture of their ID. You have to get a pass, in order to come in, and it's all videoed and so. Okay. Then they asked me where I was the day after. I said I was with Harvey Levin. Can you prove it? Yeah, here's a video of me on set with Harvey Levin on the day. Well, what about the day after? I said, listen, I'm not playing this game. I can't, I can tell you, I was back in New York. I was on a flight heading back to New York. You wanted my check-in? Here's my tickets, right? Here's the tickets on my flight. Here's my hotel rooms and so on. And the day that we left. All right. What more do you want? The problem is you can never disprove a negative, because then they'll say, well, you weren't using your phone. You were using a burner phone or somebody else's or your son's phone. And that, whatever. My point is, Comey then turns it over to Andrew Weissman, who then himself does further investigation, all based on what? A fake dossier, right? Bad opposition research by a loser. Weissman can't find shit either. So what do? They send it to Jeffrey Berman at the Southern District of New York to try to figure out how to put the squeeze on me, thinking that Donald Trump killed people and that we buried them in Central Park somewhere, right? Oh, Cohen knows where all the bodies are buried. I turn around, I said even to Congress, what do you think? The Trump Organization is Mob Inc., right? What are you talking about, right? And they were like, well, we know that Russia interfered. And Russia's been interfering in our elections since 1960s, all right? Russia's been interfering in everybody's elections forever. Trump didn't ask for it. So what's the issue here? And then they asked me that when I was still working for him as personal attorney to the president. They asked me the same question when I was testifying against him, but I gave them the same answer. Russia. It's bullshit. And there are going to be a lot of heads that are going to roll. And you know the bad part about that, Lev? It validates what he says.
No, I agree with you. That's why I tell the Democrats all the time. I mean, he's putting the leadership, they don't know. He puts them in the corner because right now, even some of the stuff that's going to come out, it's like, yeah, he's going to put out some of the truth. Like Comey did do nefarious stuff. And that's why it's so disgusting because, they didn't need to run with that stuff. They didn't need. Donald Trump gave them enough reality that they didn't need to chase these rabbit holes. I've always been saying that also, Michael. I agree with you on that part 100%. And that's the sick part because that's what drives the base because that, when they go and arrest Comey and when they go out there and for, dig up this stuff and show you how Comey did something, it's going to take away from what really is what the scrubbing of the Epstein files, the going out right now, what he's doing by trying to take away our democracy, by trying to, steal more congressional seats, by trying to rig the election, by trying to, take away our rights. I mean, all of this is going to be right now, and this is what I'm talking about, what you're talking about is being put into place right now by Donald Trump, by James Comer, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and the loyal cohorts, and, that he he's put in place to paint this picture out right now, to to be able to make this look like he was always a good guy, make him look like the victim now. Paint him out to be the victim. It was always, you see, it was the deep state. They went after me then. Look at this Epstein stuff. It wasn't me. It was again the deep state, and keep pushing that narrative. And meanwhile, while the media, while everybody is all about this, what he's really doing is taking away our rights slowly but surely every single day. And especially when it comes to election reform, with what he's doing with ICE, with what he's doing behind the scenes right now with the gerrymandering, and with all of these redistricting and all of these different stuff, and having Pam Bondi write that. So, Michael, I agree with you. Thank you, my
By the
brother.
way, and that's why, my friends, it's so important. Follow Lev, follow me. It's where you're getting first-hand knowledge, not somebody else's regurgitated bullshit. We were knee deep into this. You're getting it firsthand. And so thanks for having me up, Lev. So much more to talk about, brother. So
We
much
will.
more.
I'm going to give you a call. I'm actually traveling this week a little bit, so I'm going to be on the road, but I'm going to call you. We'll figure out definitely. There's some things I'm also working on that once I get confirmation, I'll give you a call. We'll break it. We'll go. Maybe we'll do Unleashed, our show on Unleashed on Thursday. Make sure 3 o'clock, still set, still ready. Unleashed. We're going to kill it. Me, Michael, Malcolm. Put it on your alarms, set your tuners, whatever it is on Substack, because we're going to bring it live. And yeah, like Michael says, like I say, and I'm going to repeat it. Make sure you guys go out there. The first thing is spread the message. All of this is for free. Take this. This actual video is about an hour long. I'm going to replay it later. Michael's going to replay it later. Allison, that was on here earlier from Mill Report, she's going to replay it later. The information that you've heard today from Allison, from Michael, from myself, the inside stuff. This is not some, we're not pundits. We're not journalists. We're not out there. Well, Allison's a journalist, but Allison has some great sources also that are they're bringing in independent journalists. That we're giving it to you from the inside out. You are really hearing information that, like my sister always tells me. I know you guys know my sister out there. She always says, "I can't believe it. How come CNN's not talking about this? How come MSN?" When she reads like my story or Michael's or Malcolm's, or she's like, "How come nobody's reporting on? How come what you guys are talking about?" And that's what we're saying, is because we're giving you information that the media doesn't even know about, that they're not yet reporting on. By the time they report on it, it's too late. And we're risking a lot. Trust me when I tell you.
They have no idea how much we're risking. By the way,
we're-
to all of you, if you go up to the very top, you'll see where Lev's name and my name are scrolling in the Chiron. If you are a subscriber to me, please hit that button. You could subscribe immediately to Lev. If you're a Lev subscriber and you want to listen to my nonsense, you could subscribe to me as well. Lev, we got to take the show on the road.
I'm actually, that's some of the things I'm gonna talk to you about, because I'm working on it behind the scenes. We're also talking about it. There's some of our subscribers out there. I'm not gonna dox you, because I don't know if you want your names to be out there, but have been in touch with me that are helping out, also trying to put, making calls, making stuff happen, trying to organize something. So we'll definitely keep you guys informed. But one of the things that we are trying, I think it's extremely important, is for us to go on the road, to go, because and I know we got to run quickly, but just a second, just like you saw, I know, Michael, you were talking about on your platform also, you saw what happened yesterday at town hall at Representative, what was his, Mooney?
From what do you call it, Nebraska?
Nebraska.
Yeah.
Irrelevant, yeah. Whatever
Jones.
his name is. Huh?
I think what's his last name? Jones or something like that.
It's irrelevant. But from Nebraska, you guys know who we're talking about. What you saw in that town hall is what we need to start doing. We need to be out there. Me, Michael, Malcolm, others need to be out there that know inside, that know these people, and out there. Not only out there by letting them boo, but while they're booing out there, we need to give them a where to go. We need to give them a place to come into. We need to explain to them that it's okay not to vote for Trump. It's okay to vote for the other. It's not you're in some left wing situation, because they don't listen. When they hear Democrats right now, that's it. They don't listen to you. But when people like former MAGA like us, that we come into their world, they relate. They talk, they listen, like us, hate us, they talk to us. And that's what it is, because once the conversation is out there, we're able to do our thing and bring him back out, because all this is about is winning the elections, saving our democracy, getting power back to the people out of the authoritarian regime to be able to then go into debating all the policies you want so we could then have. But right now, it's not about policies. So love you guys. Michael, thank you. I'll call you later, brother.
You
And
got
stay
it.
tuned. Take care, guys. Have a
I'll
great
see
day.
you soon, buddy.